Hi, this is Dr. Byrne. I wanted to spend a minute to answer a question that I get frequently. This ties in a little bit to the boundary question in another video, but specifically, I get the question around what some people call work-life balance. I actually don't use that term. I don't like it. I don't think balance is a great way to think about it because you'll never be in balance. So the question is this: how do I know when to put up boundaries at work as a professional so that I can be with my family without feeling guilty about missing work, or vice versa? How can I work when there's a family event without feeling guilty about that? So, first of all, I'd like to reframe this from family as we think about it traditionally, like your biological family, your family unit. And I'd like you to think about it a little bit more as your community. So that can be family, it can be friends, or it can be community. So let's reframe first of all. How do you think about being at work and wanting to do something with your community versus how do you balance being with your community and feeling guilty that you're not at work? So, the first thing I think to think is the guilt comes from the feeling that you're trying to be perfect and do it all. That's why I don't really like work life balance because it implies that you can be perfect and have it be perfect. And I don't believe that's possible. So, it comes from the guilt of wanting to be perfect at everything all the time, which is simply not possible. I don't care who you are. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how great your family is. None of us are perfect 100% of the time. I am certainly not perfect 100% of the time. And I think you need to give yourself grace and realize that it is unrealistic and probably unhealthy for you to feel you can be 100% of the time. So, knowing the guilt comes from that, how do you know what to say yes to and what to say no to? I think the key here is instead of having a rigid, I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do this approach, which is what most people think of around boundaries, is to have something a little bit more fluid and a little bit more natural feeling, which is what am I going to say yes to and what am I going to say no to? Because at any moment of any day, your community or your job is going to throw something to you and say, hey, can you do this thing? Or I want you to do this thing. And it is on you. You are going to have to decide what to say yes to and no to. Nobody can tell you what to say yes to and no to. I can't tell you that. It is highly individual and it changes over time. I like to think for myself on an annual basis. Um, I try to have a big, what am I going to say yes to this year and what am I going to say no to? And even for me, it changes over time. But the way that you decide what to say yes to and no to really comes down to your priorities and your values. So, one exercise sometimes I'll do with people I work with is to look at your key values and your core values. And it may not be exactly what you think, which is why sometimes a coach or a therapist is helpful to elicit what your true values are, not just the ones that are superficial. Once you know what your values are, then you think about more of the goals or what you would like to have happen in the next 3 months, 1 month, 3 month, year, whatever. And then when you put those two together, it becomes quite clear. I'm going to say yes to the things that match my values and that I want to prioritize. I am going to say no to things which don't match my values and I'm not prioritize. And then there are two buckets that are like maybes, maybe like second tier priorities. That would be something that does match my values but is not a priority to me, or something that does not match my values but it is a priority. Those two require a little closer attention, and I would advise you not to say yes to anything if it does not fall into that meets my values and my priorities. That's the bucket you should feel comfortable to say yes to, whether that's um, being there for a kid concert that really meets your values, whether that's saying no to friends that just want to go out to dinner and you don't really want to go to dinner because you don't find that very fulfilling, whether that's saying yes to a project at work that you're passionate about, even if it means extra work time. Or maybe it's no to a household task that you just don't want to do anymore and you can find a way to delegate that. So I hope this framework is helpful. This is something that coaches do frequently. Psychotherapists will also do it. So I hope if you need some extra help that you reach out to me or someone else who can help you get some clarity.